You are listening to Season 2, Episode 40, Cubs Top Tampa Bay. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and most importantly, subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on the socials, Fly the W670 on Twitter, Instagram, Fly the W on Facebook, or email us, flythew670 at gmail.com. So, Crawly, after a disastrous set of games against the Rays, not against the Rays, against the Reds, the Cubs welcome in the Rays, the best team in baseball, and they take care of them for the most part. Let's get into game one first. Marcus Stroman with a gem against Taj Bradley for the Rays.
Isn't it the most bizarre thing? You absolutely did horrible against the Reds, and in come the Rays, and you're thinking to yourself, this is just going to be a train wreck. And the Cubs played probably one of their best series that they played in a while, and it all did start with that Stroman start right here. When you talk about, Marcus Stroman versus Taj Bradley, the Cubs win this 1-0. Some key takeaways. Obviously, the Stro Show put on an award-winning performance, a complete game, one-hit shutout. Okay, so, I mean, it's you like we said, the Rays come into town. They lead the major leagues in average, hits, homers, and runs. Stro, no problem. Shuts down the Rays. He pitched a no-hitter into the 7th inning before Wander Franco hit a little bloop single to break it up. He finished the game throwing 105 pitches, so he almost got a Maddox out of that. He had 8 strikeouts and 1 walk. That was Stroman's 10th quality start, best in the major leagues. And according to Jordan Bastian, this was Stroman's first complete game since April 23rd, 2017, and his first shutout since September 8th, 2014, when he was a rookie for the Blue Jays against the Cubs, of course. And so when you take a look at this right here, Marquee put this out here. Since 1998, Cubs pitchers to throw a complete game shutout at Wrigley Field, allowing only 1 hit. Marcus Stroman did it on Monday night. Jake Arrieta in 2014. John Lieber in 2001. Kerry Wood did it in 2001. Oh, and you might have remembered that Kerry Wood also did it in 2008, 25th anniversary of the 20 strikeout game. But again, just what Stroman does. And, it was the series against the Mets when he last pitched, and we said, he's going to be fired up about the Mets. I just think he loves pitching at Wrigley. And this is what he had to say after the game. He said, going CG at Wrigley, that's like one of the top moments in my career. The energy. When I walk out there, 40 minutes before the game, there's a massive cheering section already. The bleachers are usually filled. Everyone's just ready to roll. That gives me so much momentum and motivation. I can't put that into words. I'm very, very thankful to the home crowd and the fans. I truly, truly think they're the best fans of the game. I'll say that to the death of me. So obviously,
it's awesome. Listen, he's walking the walk. He's talking the talk. He's been very, very consistent. Other than the one stinker up in Minnesota against the Twins, he's been very, very consistent and very, very good.
Well, the offense was not very, very good, but it didn't matter with Stroman throwing that. When that lineup came out, I thought that this was David Ross's attempt to try to give Dustin Rhodes a stroke. Let's take a look at this lineup here.
Wow.
This is Mastroboni leading off, Horner batting second, Happ third, Suzuki fourth, Swanson fifth, then Tauchman, Rios, Mervis, and Barnhart. And it was just a real head scratcher when you looked at the lineup. It didn't make any sense. And then when he was asked about it after the game, this was basically a bunch of Dusty Baker gobbledygook minus the man and dudes. I think you're trying to get the big picture, right? He's gotten hit by righties pretty hard this season for sure. My guys would scream small sample police. The sirens would go off, right? You try to balance this with a little bit of it's a scattered profile. He doesn't walk guys, but it's scattered. Plate discipline guys. Tauchman and Mastroboni are in there. Rios getting him in there consistently, maybe just something to mix things up. I don't even know what the guy was trying to say. It was like gibberish.
He's trying to shake things. He's trying to shake things up. He's trying to prove a point. I don't know what the point exactly is, but there's no way he can be the only one involved in these daily lineups. Now, he did go out of his way to say that he has the final say, but I don't think he has the only say. There's just no way. That was just horseshit, garbage. Why would you want Miles Mastroboni to bat 5 times potentially? That makes absolutely no sense, and we will talk about that later in the podcast. But whatever, he got bailed out completely by Marcus Stroman. Bailed out completely. Imagine losing that game 2-1 because you can't generate any offense. Imagine the tone of this podcast if that happened. But listen, it didn't. He was bailed out. Let's celebrate what Marcus Stroman did and not worry at this exact moment what it was that David Ross scratched out onto a card.
Well, again, like you said, it worked, but most of the time, we put up how many Cubs have done what Marcus Stroman did, and you're not going to see that often. And again, it was funny because you and I had talked before. I said you don't win many games 1-0, and here's one. Here's one for the books. So next time you ask me when the last time it happens, I got it locked in my head.
Yeah, but we won't forget that anytime soon, no doubt.
The Cubs offense had 3 hits. They drew 2 walks. He had 5 base runners all game. In the bottom of the 4th, Seiya singled to 3rd and advanced to 2nd on a throwing error. It was weird because this whole series, when you talked about the Tampa Bay Rays, awesome offense, great pitching, great defense, but the offense wasn't there for 98% of the series. And there was a couple big errors that cost Tampa Bay. And this was one of them. That throwing error after Seiya singled, he was able to get to 2nd. He made it to 3rd on a deep fly ball by Dansby Swanson and scored on a Mike Tauchman sac fly. And that's enough to win the game.
Right. That's so not like Tampa Bay at all. That's so not like them.
No, not at all. And this is where we want to come back to Stroman, Dustin, and I wanted your opinion on this. The question that's going to keep coming up all season is what to do with Stroman. He has an opt-out at the end of the season. We've heard that the extension talks. Where would you put it as a fair comp? What would you be willing to pay? Because as I kind of look deeper into this stuff, I was looking at Joe Sheehan's newsletter the other day. Stroman's 32 years old. And get this, 4 out of the 5 Cubs starters are at least 31 years old. Now, that's including Hendricks, not Wesneski. But they have the 9th oldest pitching staff in all of baseball, Dustin. Where are you at on Stroman? Do you want him to be the anchor, or would you, if he's pitching like this, could he bring a king's ransom in?
I don't rush, that's for sure. I'm not in a rush to extend him because of what you just said. Because if he continues to pitch the way he is, he will bring you a king's ransom. Age is not on his side. I would, I think, be okay with 4 years, $100 million, $25 million a year for 4 years. Wow, that's what I would be okay with because it's not my money. Number one. Number two, based on the staff that you have, Kyle, you're not doing anything long-term big time with Kyle Hendricks, right? You're working Justin Steele on a cheap deal right now. You're got an anchor around your neck with Jamison Tyone. We'll get to him at some point in this podcast, but I would be in no rush to extend him because you don't have to be. Okay, you could say it's bad business. He can have a bad. He's not. He's going to continue to go out there and try to do what he did on the holiday because he is in a contract situation. But I think he's $100 million pitcher. I think that's what he's got coming to him. The question is, do you spread it over 4 years? Do you spread it over 3? I wouldn't go more than 4, but you don't have to rush. And if the Cubs are in a bad spot, well, then really consider trading him because he's going to bring back a mammoth amount of talent.
Let's hope. Well, game 2, I was there last night. Kyle Hendricks versus Shane McClanahan. And the Cubs win this one 2-1. So they win the series. It didn't look good on paper. Shane McClanahan, one of the best pitchers in baseball, undefeated up to this point, versus Kyle Hendricks making his second start coming off the IL after missing a year because of a shoulder injury. Hendricks looked closer to the Kyle that we remembered, going 5 innings. He gave up 6 hits, 1 run, 3 walks, and 3 Ks. But he had the Rays hitters off balance. I was looking close, man. That changeup was looking really nice. He's able to induce some double plays when he needed to, like in the second when he got Francisco Mejia to hit into a double play with 2 on and 1 out. Defense was also clutch behind Kyle, making a few key plays in the first with 2 on and 1 out. You know, Kyle always struggles a little bit in the first there. Brandon Lowe singled out a ball up the middle that Nico stretched out for, and he tried to flip it to Swanson. He couldn't make the play, but Swanson like scooted to get the ball and threw it home. They got Wander Franco out at the plate, which was a really awesome play. Wrigley was going nuts on that one.
So Swanson, massive heads up play. But hold on. We did this on the show today as well, and I can't believe you're going to go right past. If that had happened to us, meaning the Cubs, we would be having an absolute you-know-what fit right now. He was safe. That's a bad call. They ruled him out because he was called out. If he would have been called safe, he would have remained safe. He was safe. He was safe. It was not blocking the plate. They also tried to challenge that, but he was safe. It was late. It's a great play. I'm happy it went the Cubs' way, but let's not just gloss over it. Okay, it's a heads-up play by Swanson, but replay was wrong. They got it wrong, unfortunately.
Well, I can only tell you, I'm at the game. So I'm at the game and I'm watching off the jumbotron, so I don't know what you guys are seeing at home. From what we saw, and it was a really, really long replay. This one took a while, longer than it should. And I've noticed that for the most part, replays have been going pretty quick this season. I think that replay, do you remember why replay came up? That Tiger pitcher had a perfect game and the guy completely blew it on the 27th out, the umpire. It was an egregious call. And that's what they're made for. They shouldn't be for bang, bang. Was a guy pop up a quarter of an inch off a plate when he was sliding into set. If you can't tell in 10 seconds if it was safe or out, then the call on the field stands. That's how it should be. So I didn't see anything that could overturn the call on the field. And I think that baseball and football and any other sport that has replay does better, that it should just be for egregious calls. And if you can't figure it out in 10 seconds, then the call on the field stands. I don't need to see super slow.
I'm just saying, the way they showed it on Marquee, I was watching on my couch. I don't get to go to the games like you, Crawly. He was safe.
Okay.
And because if you would have been, same way, if you would have been called out, it would have stayed out. Because he was called safe, it stayed safe.
Right. I agree 100%. And I like I said, I like that Major League Baseball is sticking with, if there's no indisputable evidence, call on the field stands. That's the way that replay should be, in my opinion. And so that was a big play. Seiya had a nice sliding catch to rob Harold Ramirez of a hit. After the game, Hendricks said of his outing, felt much more like myself from the start, had a much better game plan going in, felt much more comfortable out there in general. I thought it was a good start for him to build on after the first start. And so every game you hope to see Kyle doing a little bit better. Offensively, a lot of the same old struggles. The Cubs scored 2 runs on 8 hits, went 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position. They left 8 men on base and made some base running blunders. Nico hit a solo shot in the first, on the first pitch that he saw. That ball, Dustin, that home run, it was a home run only at Wrigley Field, but at no other park. But guess what? We're at Wrigley, so good. Good for that, though. Also we'll take it. Also in the first, Ian was thrown out at third, trying to be too aggressive, trying to advance on a ball in the dirt with runners at first and second and 1 out. The Cubs got their second run in the 6th when Ian led off the inning with a double that the right fielder and second baseman did not communicate on. It was beautiful, Dustin. I pulled the old I got it, and both guys pulled up, and the ball just dropped in. But you know what, man? Cheers on that one, because that ball was run out. Do you get what I'm saying? Yep. And so Happ ends up at second on that play. And so good base running on Happ. He didn't lollygag it, Yeah. Seiya struck out. Trey Mancini grounded out, which moved Happ to third. But with 2 outs, Mike Talkman, the pride of Palatine, of P-Town, hit a clutch single that scored Happ and gave the Cubs a 2-1 lead. So for the second straight day, Mike Talkman making some offensive noise. But here's the thing, Dustin, you're holding on by a wing in the prayer. In the 8th, the Cubs loaded the bases with no outs on singles by Dansby and Ian. Suzuki walked against righty reliever Trevor Kelly. Now, if you watch this guy pitch yesterday, Dustin, he has this really funky sidearm delivery. I thought that Ross should have gone with Mervis. I think he would have had a better angle at him. And instead, he stuck with Mancini, who hit into a 6-2-3 double play, shortstop to catcher to first. and the Cubs would not score with the bases loaded, no outs. And that's where we keep talking about stress on the bullpen.
Listen, it's a continued issue, and that's why some days, Crawly, we're going to be really happy and we're going to be high-fiving and sending each other positive texts about the bullpen, and other days we're going to be like, what's with this bullpen? But it's because it's taxed.
Yep. And for all the struggles, they were good on Tuesday night. Merriweather came out first, followed by Mark Leiter Jr. and Albert Alzolay, and they just shut down the race. Merriweather gave up one hit. Leiter looked excellent picking up the hold, and Albert Alzolay got the 6-out save, striking out 4 of the 6 batters he faced. So I thought that David Ross actually utilized the bullpen fine. I don't want to see Merriweather before the 7th inning unless it's a blowout.
Well, right. That's what I was concerned about last night. Right. That's what I was like, ooh, man, Merriweather. Oh boy. That had me a little tight, Crawly. I'm
okay in the 6th inning, which is when he came out, because God forbid something gets screwed up. You have a few innings to come. You know what I mean? It's not like when he's coming in the 7, 8, 9. And so I thought it was.
He better not be in the 8th or 9th unless it's a blowout.
No, that's what we're
on that for sure. Yeah.
But coming into the series, Dustin, the Cubs were 2-10 in 1-run games, the worst in MLB. With Tuesday night's win, they improved to 4-10 in that category. It wouldn't last into game 3, unfortunately.
No, it would not. And in this one, the wrap-up game this afternoon, Justin Steele against Zach Eflin.
Yeah, boy, you would think taking 2 out of 3 from the Rays would have us jumping up and down, but this is one of those that even if they swept, we would have been a little bit morbid, because Justin Steele started the game. He's rolling along, and then in the top of the 3rd, David Ross and trainer Nick Frangella come out to talk to Steele. On the broadcast, they show him shaking his arm. Hayden Wesneski got up, but then he sat down, and Steele finished the inning. But he was pulled after the inning was over. The Cubs were reporting it as left forearm tightness. Steele getting an MRI tomorrow. So, I mean, this is the worst possible situation that could have occurred here, Dustin.
Well, fingers crossed. And where I'm going to say glass half full is he was upbeat. The Cubs seem to be upbeat. Jed Hoyer's doing an inning and a half on Marquee. And we heard from Justin Steele after the game. So usually if a guy's in really bad shape, you're not going to hear from him after the game. Okay, maybe he skips a start. Okay, maybe he skips a start. Let's see what the imaging is. He knows his body better than anybody. I hope he's not lying. But yeah, of course, you get a little sick to your stomach feeling when that happens. But based on the fact that he talked and looking at his body language, I'm gonna trust him on this one.
Athletes are a weird breed, and you get adrenaline and you get all sorts of stuff, and they want to be the toughest guys out there. I could just tell you, we heard the same thing about Cody Bellinger after the knee thing. Yeah,
I knew.
It's fine.
I knew that's where you're going to go, and I'm with you. I know I'm with you. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. That's a great comp. It's a great comp. It's a great place to go with this based on what we're talking about. Totally.
I'm hoping he's right. Okay. and I guess it's hard for me, because for me sometimes, and I get close to some of these players and I get to meet them and meet their families, for Justin Steele to have been doing what he's been doing. I mean, we were talking at one time, maybe even an all-star starter, but definitely making the team. It's just, my stomach just turns right now. And so I'm just hoping for the best, but I get nervous when the Cubs are kind of like, oh, no problem. Sure. Everything great. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh,
yeah, that's a good comp. I mean, they said that Cody Bellinger was going to be available to pinch hit, I think on a Wednesday or a Thursday. And then all of a sudden he goes on the DL. And now we've got Carter Hawkins telling MLB radio that it's going to be another 2 weeks.
Right. Who knows? It's a disaster. So the good thing is Hayden looked very impressive, in my opinion.
Yes,
this wasn't the Hayden Wesneski we saw. This was Hayden Wesnasty. I hadn't seen the ball move like that at all this year, at all. This was the first time I saw what I saw last season, what I saw in spring training. He went 3.2 innings pitched. He gave up one quote-unquote hit that should have been scored an error on Swanson. I think that was the old, what would he say, a home call score, you know what I mean? I mean, that was, I don't know. He walked 2, he struck out 4. But I wanted to ask you about this here, Dustin, because in the 7 with 2 outs, Manuel Margot walked on a close pitch. And Ross instantly, I mean, like without hesitation, goes and runs and grabs Mark Leiter Jr. Now, let's look at it this way. Mark Leiter Jr. has easily been one of the top 2 relievers that the Cubs have had. But did you think it was early to give Wesneski the hook?
I don't know. I don't know the last time Wesneski pitched down in the minors. A little bit. I mean, maybe if I don't have the book, I mean, it didn't work out. So if it didn't work out, then of course, but maybe somebody coming up in the next batter or two had a history with Hayden or something, and Leiter had an opposite split, something. We'd have to look into that. But because it's not going to work out. So yeah, it was too soon.
That is what it was, is that Leiter had much better numbers against lefty, which is what Margot was going to be hitting. No doubt about that. I just wonder sometimes, though, when you just look at straight numbers, which is something you could easily do, no doubt about that. But when you're looking at the numbers, are you seeing what's in front of your eyes? And we've talked about Joe Madden coming, and I can't wait for this at Club 400, August 17th to benefit Special Olympics. But yes, in all honesty, if Hayden was looking tired, in my opinion, then that's absolutely the right move. I just thought from what I saw him throwing, and like I said, being the best I've seen him all year, yes, I think Hayden Wesneski, hitters hit 300 off of him, lefties, and righties hit 100 off of him. So, I mean, there's clearly, and we've talked about Leiter, and he has really good numbers against lefties. He has those reverse splits, no doubt about it. But what you saw today, I guess, would be what my question is that when you see a guy that looked as good as he was doing, I thought that Madden was very quick to run out and make that move based not on, I would say
Ross,
not just
Ross was.
I'm sorry. Ross was very quick to make that move just based on the numbers and not with what Wesneski was throwing, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, I don't disagree. And it ends up not working out. So listen, I'm all for, questioning David Ross. I'm here for that, Crawly. I'm here.
Like you said, either way, Leiter gave up a home run on the second pitch he threw to tie up the game against Lowe. Cubs would retake the lead in the bottom of the 7th, but with Leiter still in the game in the 8th, he walks Taylor Walls and then gives up a 2-run homer to Jose Siri. He faced 4
the ninth hitter in the lineup.
I will say this. They have a lot of guys that, even if they're the 9th hitter, they have a lot of guys that have 9 or 10 home runs all throughout that lineup.
They're a talented bunch. They can slug. That's something that they hadn't been doing, and they definitely got their slug going today at Wrigley.
Right. Now, when we talk about the offense, first inning was fun. Nico with the leadoff single stole second. Ian singled to make it 1-0. He steals second. And after Seiya was called out on a bullcrap call, the ump was awful today. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that it is the reason the Cubs lost, but it sure as hell didn't help with that guy. I'm going to I'll tweet that out tomorrow just to kind of see what the umpire scores, but I'm guaranteeing it's below average in everything. Talkman continued to torment the Rays with an RBI single to make it 2-0. But after the first, Eflin settled down. He gave up only one more hit until Seiya led off the 7th with a double. Talkman bunted him to third. Trey Mancini hit a rocket that drove in Seiya, but Mancini would be thrown out at second, but the Cubs retook the lead 3-2. But as we talked about earlier, Leiter is going to give that lead up, and the Cubs will be down 4-3 on that 2-run homer. But then the Cubs had opportunities galore in the 8th, in the 9th. In the bottom of the 8th, down 4-3, and runners at first and third. You have your best quote-unquote hitters. Dansby Swanson is up. He strikes out. You can't do that with one out.
You can't strike out. You cannot strike out there.
With one out, you have to make contact. You have to make contact. And he doesn't. Nico would steal second, and they have runners at second and thirds with 2 outs. Ian Happ is called out on a close call on a 3-2 pitch. I've seen a lot of arguments all over social media. The guys were talking about it on the post-game show, Dustin. They said that was the most egregious call. I felt it's so close of a call that until close. They get the ABS system, right. you can't just take that, Yep.
I thought it was close too. He should have swung.
Yeah, that was my opinion. And then in the 9th, with runners at first and second, Patrick Wisdom hits into a tailor-made 5-6-3 double play, but Isaac Paredes made some error and everybody was safe. Dustin, if the Cubs win this game, we would have talked about 3 errors that cost the Rays in each of the 3 games.
Right.
Because
you wouldn't have felt great about it, but you'll take it.
Oh, I would have felt great about it because I would have never had the Cubs sweeping this team. And you know what? Hey, Dustin, that's what good teams do, is take advantage of other teams' errors.
You're right. Yeah.
They don't allow you to do that.
Good teams win 1-run games.
Right. And they make you pay when you make a mistake. You cannot make a mistake against a good team and not have them make you pay. And the Cubs didn't make the Padres pay. So the error, you got the bases loaded and 1 out. I thought Miles Mastrobuoni had a great at bat. He struck out. It was tough. And then Yan Gomes hit one pretty hard. Arozarena is a great left fielder, and he makes the play to end the game. But, runners in scoring position and clutch hitting. And I wanted to bring this up really quick here, Dustin. I got this here. I saw it on Twitter, and I didn't have a chance to cross-check it, but I've seen similar before. This is from Sean_Foss. In high leverage moments, the Cubs are slashing 229, 309, 332 at the plate. That is awful. From the mound, pitching in high leverage moments, they allow a slash line of 280, 358, 476. We talked about this in the last podcast, Dustin, this is a team that's lost a lot of 1-run games. It's a team that hasn't won a lot of come from behind games. This was like I said, 8th and 9th inning, you could have come back and won this one. And this team just doesn't seem to have the clutch gene in it.
Yeah, they don't. They're missing it. It's not there, and it feels like that. Yeah, whenever these kind of situations happen, Crawly, I feel like I can hear Theo in the background. The offense is broke. The offense is broke, and this is a new group of guys we're talking about too.
I'm happy that the Cubs did well. If you remember when this season started, I pegged this team at about an 84-win team, which is 3 games above 500, not a huge amount. But that's what you get with 500 teams, is that there will be times where they look like they did against the Reds on Memorial Day, where they look like absolute crap. And there's other times that they surprise you and play a pretty good series against one of the best teams in baseball. And that's the frustrating thing. When you have a garbage team, you're probably going to lose most games, most series. When you have a really good team, you expect to win every series. When you're talking about a 500 team, it's a crapshoot every time out there.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And unfortunately, Crawly, I think we're going to be celebrating if this team gets to 500 again. You are listening to the Fly the W670 podcast. It's season number 2. It's episode 39. Cubs top Tampa Bay. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Crawly, I thought of you immediately when I saw this news. You are like Captain Bobblehead. You're also a big Billy Williams guy, and the Cubs made a huge mistake.
Yeah, it was during the Memorial Day weekend, which was just an absolute disaster for the Cubs, getting swept by the Reds. And not only that, they have Billy Williams bobblehead day. So, of course, bobblehead nuts like me are all excited. This whole statue series is a really cool concept. Idea is brilliant. So everybody gets the bobblehead. They take the package out, and on the back of Billy Williams, arguably, you could say easily, without question, a top 5 franchise player, they have his jersey number as number 1. And you say to yourself, boy, if there was only some way you could figure out to double check what his number is. I don't know. Look out the window and see the flag hanging from the foul pole that says 26 Williams on it. How do you screw that up, Dustin? How do you screw it up?
His number flies at your stadium. Flies at your stadium. Doesn't make much sense at all.
Not only that, Dustin, this got overlooked, but they also said the jersey was retired in 2000, and that was inaccurate as well. I believe it was 2009. So it's one of those things that when your team's doing good, you kind of roll your eyes and it's no big deal. But when team's looking bad, it's like, Jesus, this is, you cannot make a mistake like that. That is something that to me is unacceptable. And I know I am kind of more in the weird bobbleheady type guys, but you're telling me you can't get the jersey right of one of your best ball players. That's an issue. Somebody had to have signed out on that, right? They what happens? They have a mold, and you look at it, and when you make sure everything's right and you sign up, somebody signed off on that. So I would hate to be the person whose name is on that signature right there.
Yeah, that was really, really, really bad.
And so what the Cubs have offered to do is they offered to exchange your bobblehead for one that has an accurate number. So they are going to, I don't know if they're going to buy a full 10,000. They're going to buy at least 6,000 or 7,000 new bobbleheads and have them remade. And like all Cub fans love to hear, wait till next year. You can get your bobblehead and exchange it for the proper one. It's funny because I know people that work there, and so sometimes they have bobbleheads and they bring them to the 1914 club. They bring them to the suites. They bring them to different places, but not everybody, takes them or wants them or whatever. And so they have leftovers. Right away after this blows up on social media, they were taking the boxes of any extras and confiscating them. And they're trying to get all these up that they can as quick as possible.
Yeah, really, really embarrassing. Really an embarrassing moment, especially Crawly, as you said it, and I will say it again, the guy's number flies in your stadium. All right, I did not realize this, Crawly, because I was outside enjoying the nice weather, as were you, on Memorial Day, but Marquee missed the breakup of Stroman's no-hitter.
Yep, they came in late. They're always doing kind of this one dumb... Okay, Dustin, you work in the sports radio industry and all that stuff. Unfortunately, gambling is just everywhere. It's ubiquitous now in all of sports talk. And so if you ever watch a Marquee, if you have the opportunity to watch a Marquee game, they always have these guys kind of coming in, and it's Colbright, and then it can be whatever player, whether it's Ryan Dempster, Sean Marshall, or Cliff Floyd, or whoever, and they do these parlays and all this stuff. As that's happening, Wander Franco breaks up Stroman's no-hitter, and they missed it while they were doing this segment about parlays. And
that's just unfortunate. Really, really is. Really is.
And we love everybody over at the Marquee Network. Great people, but you can't. It's the same thing as the Billy Williams thing. You can't do that. If the game's a blowout, you shouldn't miss any moment of the game to listen to some retired ball players' parlays. But this is a game with history on the line, and you're not watching that. That's ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's inexcusable.
So we'll see what happens. Now we do have some roster moves and an injury report here. Surprising move: Hayden Wesneski was called up, and Michael Rucker was optioned to Iowa. Since May 14th, though, Rucker's pitched 4 times and has given runs up in each of those outings, including 5 against the Mets on May 25th. Ross said the long-term goal for Wesneski is to be a starter. We're trying to get the most talented pitchers we can from down there, meaning Iowa. Stretching Rucker out consistently lately, his sucking down some inning for us was awesome, but just giving him a little bit of a break. But it doesn't look like like I said, I'm trying not to be negative. Hopefully, Hopefully Justin Steele will be back and everything. It'll just be maybe one start, but it looks like Wesneski may be in the rotation quicker than we thought.
Well, it's a good problem to have, I guess, right? You've got him. You also have Assad, who can probably make a start if need be. So worst case scenario, you could do some kind of an opener with Wesneski and Assad if that was the course of action that needed to be taken.
Brad Boxberger has played catch on Sunday and Monday, took Tuesday and Wednesday off. They want to see how his forearm is feeling. And then Cody Bellinger, the knee is not that bad, is doing some cage work and throwing. I don't know at what point he's coming back. You heard something from Carter Hawkins that said even longer. I mean, we're at the point
over the holiday weekend. He was on with Major League Baseball Radio, MLB Network Radio, and said 2 more weeks.
So you're going to have to wonder if he's going to need a rehab start, if he's going to end up in Iowa before coming back with the Cubs.
You got to think. And then speaking of Iowa, we still have Cody Hoyer screwing around over there. It's like, what is taking, let's go. Right. I mean, can he throw an inning? All you need the guy for is an inning. Can he do that up here?
They're going to be as careful as they can with him. He's coming back from Tommy John. The plan was always mid-June. I think that's probably when you see him is after the first week of June at some point in time. They're going to be careful. You got to remember with guys like that, you want to be careful. You've waited this long to have him recover, and you want it to be a long-term successful recovery. You are throwing more intense innings up here. It's harder to get outs, a lot more pressure. I'm hoping everybody that was screaming about Morel and screaming about Mervis and all this stuff, and all the times they scream for people, understand there is a huge jump between the AAAs and major leagues. So you're just going to want to be careful with that guy and not do anything dumb. And I'd rather err on the side of caution. I know it's frustrating, but it's even more frustrating if that guy's arm blows out and you just wasted all that time and one of the most important trade chips from the Craig Kimbrell trade, in my opinion.
After the series with the Rays, the Cubs are going to get a day off. They're going to go west now for a big West Coast trip. Padres, Angels involved in that one. Where do the Cubs stand right now?
Yeah, good thing they get the off day, and hopefully they can kind of recover. But the loss today, I believe St. Louis still plays a little bit later. But as of right now, the Cubs are in last place. Just, they've been jockeying with St. Louis for that last place right there.
Percentage points.
4.5 games back. And then Cincinnati, 3 games back. You saw Cincinnati put a thumping on the Boston Red Sox last night. So, again, sometimes you hit teams when they're hot. Looks like that's what the Cubs did, unfortunately. Pittsburgh still staying alive, 3-7. They're at 500. How much longer they stay above 500, I don't know. But the NL Central has Milwaukee in first place, 2 games over 500, 4-6.
Just bad division. 10. Just fortunate that they are in a poor division. That is so right.
I put these numbers up here, Dustin, and I'm looking at this, and usually run differential is a pretty good indicator, but in this division, Milwaukee's run differential is -26. So they've allowed 26 more runs than they've scored. For a first-place team, that is like wacky. And with the Cubs and Cardinals, the 2 last-place teams, they're positive run differentials. St. Louis at 7 and the Cubs at 5. So and then St. Louis is in third with a -23 run differential. It's nuts. I don't even know what to make of it. But the Cubs will be taking on, like you said, the Padres. So the Cubs took 2 of 3 from the Rays, and now the Padres are going to be finishing off a series with the Marlins in Miami before flying home to San Diego. So they have a game against the Marlins today, and they have a game against the Marlins tomorrow during the day. So they're going to finish that game against the Marlins. Hopefully it goes 15 innings, and then they'll fly all the way back to San Diego. So that's always the hope there. But with San Diego in the West right now, to say they are a disappointment right now. They are, you take a look at that team, and they bought everybody, right? They signed extensions for everybody. They made Manny Machado part owner, and then they find themselves 8 games back in this division. They're behind Arizona, San Francisco, and the Dodgers. It's not good for the Padres. So who knows what's going to happen? And hopefully the Cubs. The main thing we want to do is have them continue to take series. And that's what they did the last time they played San Diego. They took 2 of 3. Justin Steele and the offense took down Ian Snell, beating the Padres 6-0 to game 1. They dropped game 2, 5-3. Juice Smiley pitched well against Michael Wacha, but the bullpen couldn't hang on. This was, I think, if you remember, Fernando Tatis Jr. had just come back from his suspension and all that stuff. He drove in 2 in the 7th and 1 in the 9th for a come-from-behind win. And the Cubs took the rubber match of the series. Hayden Wesneski had a solid start. The bullpen held on, and the Cubs won against Seth Lugo with home runs by Nelson Velasquez and Dansby Swanson. That was Dansby Swanson's first home run in a Cubs uniform was in that game. So hopefully they can do what they did last time and take 2 of 3. But it's one of my favorites, 4-game series.
I was going to say they got to take 3 or 4, Crawly. Got to take 3 or 4.
3 or 4, but
they got a weird stretch here in the next 3 weeks. Weird stretch.
Yeah, it really sucks. I one of these days I just want to meet whoever makes a schedule for MLB and just kick him in the shins because it's just.
Well, it also sucked. I got to be honest. It sucked that Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout were in Chicago the same time the Cubs are hosting the Rays. That also sucked.
Yeah, it's what are you going to do? And if you want to talk about sucking, I don't know what to say about Jameson Taillon. I think he's going to get better. I don't think he's.
He can't get worse, can he?
You say he can't get worse. You can't get worse. But the problem you have is, what if he stays like this all season? That's my concern. What we need is for him to turn around. He has started 8 games, and the Cubs have lost all 8 games that he has started against Cincinnati. I didn't think he did horrible for him. He made it to the 5th inning, 4.2 innings pitched. Gave up 6 hits, 4 runs, 1 walk, 5 Ks. That was a lot better, I think, than he did against Philly, and a little bit better than how he, roughly about the same how he did against Houston. But he, this is a guy that with what, God knows what happens to Justin Steele, but this is those type of situations where he is going to have to pick it up. He's got to start to earn some of that $68 million.
Yes, he does. Clock is ticking, Crawly. The clock is ticking.
And then we get to see Michael Wacha again. I did not like how the Cubs played against Michael Wacha last time. I thought it was they didn't do well. He is 5-1 with a 3.45 ERA. He started 10 games. Against the Yankees, he did pretty good, and against Boston and KC. So the guy's been on a roll as of late. 7 innings against the Yankees, he gave up 2 runs. In Boston, he went 6 innings, gave up 0 runs. And against KC, he gave up 0 runs in 7 innings. So the guy has been pretty darn good lately. He's 31 years old. He's been around, but he's having a pretty good season for San Diego, and they've really needed him so far.
Yeah, I am really looking forward to game number 2 of this series, Crawly.
Oh, I kind of had a feeling you would be mentioning something about that. Drew Smyly, Mr. Dependable, Mr. Consistent, has started 11 games, 5-2 for the Cubs with a 3.45 ERA. Last start against Cincinnati, we talked about, is nobody really did good against Cincinnati. 4.2, gave up 7 hits, 5 earned runs, 2 walks, and 2 Ks. Against the Mets, 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks. And against Houston, he had that good one that the bullpen blew, 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run. I'd like to see him go 6 innings and keep the runs down personally. I think we need a big start from him.
I think.
I mean, you want that just in general, but I guess I feel like there's more pressure with Steele being unknown. What's going to happen with that? Right. So here's the situation, and this goes with Tyone, it goes with Steele. I don't worry about as much with Stroman, and with Hendricks, he's coming back. But the issue we talk about is these guys have to start giving you length. You cannot keep doing this to the bullpen.
Right. So at some point, somebody's got to give you some length. Absolutely right.
Now he's going up against Dustin's favorite guy in the world, Yu Darvish. And Yu Darvish this season's made 10 starts. He's 3-4. He got hit around pretty good by the Yankees last time. 2.2 innings, gave up 7 earned runs. Against the Nationals, he went 6 innings, gave up 3 runs. Against KC, he gave up 4 runs in 6 innings and 5.1 innings. So, he's not really had the world's greatest start this year. He's not pitching like an ace. And so, I would say that Smiley's kind of struggled a little bit lately. I see the same with Yu Darvish. So I'm hoping, Yu Darvish was looking, I think, had a real good run from mid-April to mid-March, starting to fall off lately. And so I would hope that the Cubs have an opportunity. But Yu Darvish is still a pretty wily pitcher, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, he's still got a lot in the tank. I would like the Cubs to get to him. That's all.
Absolutely, and it can get done, patient at bats and don't fall behind in counts, and that can always help you out,
Absolutely.
So game 3, we got Marcus Stroman versus Ryan Weathers. Stro, we talked about it. Last 2 starts have just been phenomenal. You had a 9-inning, 1-hitter shutout against Tampa Bay. And then before that, against the Mets, he went 8 innings and he gave up 2 runs. And before that, against Philly, he went 6 innings and gave up 1 run. So Marcus Stroman has just been on fire lately. Have been super impressed all year, but it seems like every time we think that he can't get any better, somehow he just kind of one-ups us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think he's going to be still motivated. I think he's going to like facing that Padres lineup, a bunch of big names that have underperformed so far for them all year.
Yeah, and so he's going to be going against a kid that we've never seen, Ryan Weathers. He has made a total of 6 starts. He's 1-3 with a 4.28 ERA. He was called up by the Padres on May 18th. So he hasn't had a ton of starts in the big leagues. Against Miami, went 4 innings. He only gave up 3 runs. Against Washington, 6 innings. He gave up 4 runs. And against the Dodgers, he went 5.2 and he gave up 4 earned runs. So it seems like, he's somebody you can get to. Hey, you want to feel old, Dustin? He is the son of former pitcher David Weathers.
Well, when I saw Weathers' last name, I said, it's no way it's David Weathers. So I figured that had to be the case.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. It's always hard. Like now you see like sometimes the son and the grandsons of pitchers that you remembered playing. You just say, oh God, yeah, I'm getting old here. Speaking of old, the old man, Kyle Hendricks, the professor, coming off of, like I said, I thought that the second start that he had was really good. He went 5 innings against Tampa Bay, gave up 6 hits, 1 earned run. And then against the Mets, his first time back, he went 4.1, gave up 6 hits and 3 earned runs. But I thought he looked much more composed, much more at ease with himself in the second game, bouncing back. So I'm looking for the next, another step forward with him so far in his development. The Cubs are going to be facing Blake Snell, who
awful right now.
Just really, really struggling. He's 1-6 with a 5.04
He's their version
ERA.
of Jameson Taillon.
Well, it's weird. If you remember, we had the guy talking Friars on last time when they played in April, and he said, look, there's first half Snell and there's second half Snell, and first half Snell sucks. And so that's what you're seeing right here. But last start, Dustin, against Washington, no decision, 5 innings pitched. He gave up 1 earned run. He had 6 strikeouts, but 4 walks. Against Boston, he went 4 innings, gave up 6 earned runs, 5 strikeouts with 2 walks. And with the Dodgers, he went 6 innings, gave up 2 earned runs, but also 4 walks and 4 strikeouts. So he's walking a lot of guys. And so you have to make him pay if he's going to be doing that against the Cubs.
Oh, yeah.
You can't,
but that's the Cubs' problem, right? Hitting with runners in scoring position.
Right. And until they fix that problem, they're not going to be getting to 500.
Right. Absolutely right. All right, Crawly, let's get into a little hot and not ahead of our predictions.
Hot. Seiya Suzuki keeps it going. 7 hits his last 20 at bats. He's got a double. He is slashing 350, 458, and slugging 400 in the last 7 days. So you want to just keep, Seiya has been, like I said, really impressive. How about Mike Tauchman doing okay? 20 at bats, 7 hits. He's got the same number of hits as Seiya Suzuki, 3 RBIs. Seems to be coming through clutch. He's hitting 350, 462, 350. So not a lot of slug, but he's making a lot of contact and he's driving in runs. And I think he's having good at bats. I wish more Cubs would be having his approach to how he's doing things right now.
Yep, his approach, Crawly, as you just pointed out, excellent. Approach is excellent right now.
Not excellent right now. Christopher Morel is struggling. 1 for his last 18, 8 strikeouts to 1 walk. He is slugging. His slash line is .056, .105, .056. So, ouch. I don't know what to say, Dustin. This is, and the other guy that we have on here, Patrick Wisdom, 3 for his last 19, 2 home runs and 5 RBIs. But these are guys that, are very streaky. At least with Wisdom, you have a consistency as far as he will get you more walks, and he will be less cold than what you see with Morel. He's hitting 158, 200, but he's slugging 474. So whenever he does make content, ball goes far,
ball goes far, but unfortunately there's also a lot of strikeouts to go along with it. All right, for the Padres, hot and not.
You knew Juan Soto. He hasn't had a lot of at-bats. They've kind of been mixing them up, but in the last 12 at-bats, he has 5 hits, 1 double, 4 RBIs. So he's slashing 417, 650, 750. So you want to be careful there. Xander Bogaerts, he's starting to kind of get a little bit back, and that's why I just kind of put a little asterisk next to him right now. He's got 5 hits and 19 at bats, 2 RBIs, but he's 263, 300, 263. So he's not that hot, but he was struggling for a little while.
All right. And the Knots?
If we're taking a look at the Knots, Matt Carpenter, him of the crappy salsa. Make sure you get your salsa from the Salsa King. But Matt Carpenter he's got 2 for his last 18. He's slashing 111, 158, 222. So not good. And then Fernando Tatis has only 4 hits, in the last 22 at bats, 182, 284, 55. He does have 2 home runs and 4 RBIs. So I don't know, maybe he's doing it natural this time. Maybe he's not. I don't know. It's not my fault. I have to guess.
Yeah, we have to guess. We have to question. There's no doubt about that. All right, Crawly, let's get it. Let's get it.
Just one more thing really quick. Right. No Manny Machado because he's injured. Machado was in the lineup last time the Cubs faced. No Manny Machado this time. So just keep that in mind.
That's good news, right? He's he's dangerous. He's a dangerous player. Rather not have to play against him. All right, Crawly, here we go. Prediction time. 4 big games on the West Coast against the Padres.
Everybody knows where I'm going. I'm going Splitsville, baby. 2-2. I hate 4-game series. I hate them as bad as Mondays, and I hate them as bad as vegetables. They're the worst thing in the world. So I'll just, again, unless one team's extremely hot or another team's extremely cold, I'll always go with the split.
Yeah, I think a split is the right call, but I do like vegetables, Crawly. Sorry. But yeah, the split is where it's at. I think the Cubs can get a split out there, and that would be a good start because I do believe they're going to face Ohtani on the mound potentially when they're out in California as well.
The way I'm looking at it right now, you got that Stroman versus Ryan Weathers start. I think that's one that you should kind of hope for. And I would like to see Kyle Hendricks, like I said, take that next step, maybe go 6 innings, a couple less walks, just start to get a little bit more fine-tuned against Blake Snell. I feel like Drew Smyly and Yu Darvish could be a toss-up game, and I don't have a lot of faith in Jameson Taillon until he proves otherwise.
Yeah, Friday doesn't look great. Right.
Enjoy your Friday night, right?
Yeah. All right, Crawly, 2-2. Well, fingers crossed. Have a great weekend. We'll get back at it. I don't know exactly when we're going to get our next podcast in, but we'll try to do something in between with night games and schedules getting in the way. But we'll stay in communication with our listeners.
Just make sure, guys, you put a lot of coffee on the kettle and stay awake and try to watch these games. And if not, we'll give you the wrap up right here. And go Cubs. Hey guys, it's Crawly. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. If you want to see more of our videos, be sure to check out our playlist and let us know what you think in the comments below. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media to stay up to date with our latest episodes. Links are in the description. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Go Cubs!